Tomato.
Anyway, welcome back, folks, to yet another casual stream.
Another casual, very relaxed, very off-the-cuff Heretic podcast.
Yep.
In which Madhog learns a valuable lesson about editing.
It's awful.
Yes, nobody should ever edit. Editing is for chumps. Don't edit. Study to be a doctor or a nurse. Go save lives. Do something useful for society. Do not edit videos. Death is preferable sometimes.
Well, that's one way of putting it, I guess. I wonder if I can shoot from here.
Ooh.
Nope, it seems like it's a bit of a... How about from here? Oh, got him. And that's him done and dusted. How about your friend over here?
Riveting.
Yep, this is what you expect from me. And ooh, his corpse just had physics just then. And
Is that the earliest example of a Havok physics engine?
probably not, no.
No, it's not. Right, so I have something to get off my chest. In case it wasn't obvious. It relates to the last episode of this podcast that we recorded and I edited. In case you didn't notice, I am a bit salty about the whole concept of editing right about now.
Well, yeah, I can understand that.
So are you going to ask me, well, Madhog, why are you salty about editing? Yeah, also I sound like Skeletor for some reason, E-Man?
Well, gee, Madhog, why are you so salty about the editing process that takes ages?
Oh boy, do I have a story for you. It's an Odyssey, right out of Homer's rectum.
Like, really, Homer?
No,
like the real Homer?
ancient Greek Homer. You know, the one who wrote the Odyssey?
Yes, I know who you were talking about. That's why I asked the real Homer.
Yeah, well, it's certainly not Homer Simpson, you
Nope.
Captain Genius, you. Anyway, editing. Editing the last episode of the Heretic podcast has been the worst experience in my life when it comes to this particular hobby. The episode was supposed to come out a week earlier than when it came out, but problems and issues, the most unforeseen kind, kept piling up and driving me crazy. Just the worst kind of issues. First of all, let's start from the beginning. So we record the Heretic podcast, right?
Yep.
Spirits are high, and expectations are medium-sized.
Yeah,
But
no,
oh boy,
no expectations at all.
I cannot wait to put it out. It's been a while. I want to spruce it up, make it look a little bit better, do some editing here and there, and I ended up doing the thing that I usually do, which is to say being a perfectionist. Now, that wouldn't be a problem, except that my editing program absolutely hated that file that you sent me.
I don't know how you... How... Ah, sorry, I had to get rid of something that trapped me.
Right. This business. The words fail me right now because I cannot believe it was this problematic.
Well,
I had to wait for you to send me the file, first of all.
Yeah, which was a pain in itself, because I do not know why. It's but I've been having trouble sending files recently.
Or so I've noticed. I'm still waiting for those Armello videos.
Yeah, that kind of just went on the back burner because everything else kind of was more important right now than that.
Well, yes, but still. We recorded that how many months ago?
Quite a while back. And dang it,
I think it was last December, too.
I cannot see a thing.
You should consider raising the gamma.
I might do. Just give me a moment, because I just didn't want to, create a,
a time paradox.
Not a time paradox, more of a, let me think now. More like, the game,
An incongruous Sarsamarillion.
Play the game as not as intended.
You're using GZ Doom, so I think that sentiment goes completely out of the window.
Okay, let's see how bad this gets when I push.
Also, I appreciate you not reacting at all to me making up a word on the spot.
Well, it's how things are with us.
It is what it is.
It's too bright for my eyes.
The Irishman, Martin Scorsese, 2019. Okay, so I finally get my greasy little hands on that file that you managed to send me about 3-4 days later, or more.
And it went totally well.
Yes, no. I put it in my program, which, as I said, detested it. I noticed that it wasn't loading the file properly, or rather, the file was slowing everything down. To the point, the words are coming back, to the point that doing something as basic as a cut, a removal, something along those lines, just removing a word or a phrase and then getting on with the next phase was an absolute pain in the buttocks, because everything was slowing down so much. The footage was losing frame rates. The audio also would glitch out. It's a miracle I managed to edit half of that video. By the time I noticed that the footage was going ahead compared to the audio.
Wow.
Yes, so that's an additional problem. And I have already edited half of it by basically brute forcing it, because, as I said, my program hated this file. So I said to myself, okay, this is an inconvenience, but I know what to do. I'm going to take the original file that Devar sent me, put it through Windows Movie Player.
Yeah.
Or, as I was about to call it, Mundis Window Player. Yes, okay. By the way, I am not going to bother with editing any mistakes or flubs I might make out of my mouth this time around, because I realize that it's not worth it and nobody really cares. Anyway, and this experience taught me that the hardest way, because I passed that file through Mundis Video Maker. That's its name now. And which is what I usually do when I want a file to work on my other program. Don't ask me why it works, but it does. And I decided to just render the first half of the video and then just put it together with the second half when I work on it later. So Does that make sense to you so
Yeah,
far?
it makes sense to me.
Are you with me?
Yes, I'm with
Except, once I rendered the first half of the video, I noticed something very not fortuitous. For some reason, the footage of the game became much darker than before. Much more dark than it was before.
I do not like the sounds of that being darker than before.
It is very much darker than before. It was just unwieldy to behold. So that just that did not please me, and now the issues were really starting to pile up. And it takes forever for this video, as huge as it is, to render to begin with. So anyway, I work on the second half of the video anyway. And then I decided I'm going to just manually brighten up, raising the gamma of the first half of the video when I put it together with the second half of the video. Right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I spent several days editing this entire video the way I wanted it to. I also tried unsuccessfully to fix the initial problem of the game footage not being synchronized with the audio, to no avail. And if you pay attention to the final product, you can see that sometimes the audio does not match the footage in terms of the actual sound, especially with the background sound.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I do all that work, and then my program refuses to render it.
Well, that sounds absolutely lovely. It's not like
So I try to... I turn off the program, I turn it on back again. It still refuses to do its job. So I delete the program and then I reinstall it. The problem persists. Up until at some point it just decided, you know what? Okay, you can render this video now.
And then...
Okay. And then the portion that I edited first, the one with the audio game footage synchronization, and also with the problem of it being too dark, was being real slow in rendering, to the point that it was not just worth it, it would have been literally there for 24 hours had I let it go like that. It's too much rendering for way too long. It's not worth it. So, here's what I did.
Yeah.
I did not re-render that first part. I just rendered the second half, which also became darker than it was before. And then I put it all together on Mundis Video Maker.
Yes, the Moon Disser.
Which is my pet name for Windows Movie Maker now, because I flub my pronunciation of it and I don't care. I just don't care. I'm out of cares at this point. But I do care. I care deeply. That's the problem, in fact. So I put it all together on Windows Movie Maker, right?
Yeah.
And I use the gamma rising function from that program to brighten up the entire video. All of the parts of the video. And then I rendered it on Mundis Movie Maker. And then the video was finally ready, and it was 14 gigabytes large. So I put it on YouTube, which took much less time than you might think, thanks to my new internet provider.
That's good then.
And as soon as it went up, I received a copyright strike!
For what?
As a final berry on top of this cake of misery, I get a copyright strike because there's music in this video that's basically, how do I put this? There's a bit of classical music in that video. It was part of the opening that I had prepared for it.
Oh, right, the opening that you made originally.
Yes, that. And it received a copyright strike because apparently it's a very specific version of that piece of music that was played by somebody at some point. So somebody has copyrights on it, even though the music itself is public domain. Because unless you take your public domain music specifically from the YouTube library, it will get a copyright strike from some phony idiots. So I went and manually extracted that portion of the video out of the video using the YouTube editor, the new one.
Yeah.
And then finally, after all that, the video was ready to be seen a whole week later compared to its original release. And I am
tired.
Very unhappy about it. It's an experience I do not want to repeat anytime soon. It's bad for my health, bad for my sanity. It wasn't worth it because it gets very little in terms of views. So nobody even cares about my hard work. So I am all kinds of salty. I am an ocean worth of salt. And I needed to complain about it. So I did.
So you feel better about it now?
No, not at all.
Well, just like your video editing then. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to be, silly.
Don't be silly. I'll silly your face. Somehow. Okay, so that was then.
You can't make it more silly than it already is.
This is now.
Yep, this is our life now. This is what we chose to do with our time.
It's not even a bad use of our time. We do a hybrid between a Let's Play and a podcast. There isn't really anybody who's doing that, or at least nobody famous. Well, I mean, if you don't count Yogg's cast. But I don't even know what they do. I never watched a single video of Yogg's cast. So for all I know, they might be playing maracas for 2 hours.
Yeah, I have no idea who Yogg's cast is or what they do at all. So.
Well, okay, it doesn't matter. We're not talking about Yogi. Yo, what's up, dog? Oh gosh, you made me think about Baby Yogi from the 90s.
I was more thinking of the one where Yogi and his friends are kids and they are.
That's the one. That's the one.
Oh gosh, frick you.
Did you just say frick you?
Yes, frick that thing.
Okay, well, this is a family-friendly podcast set in hell, so it's good that you managed to restrain yourself. Speaking of hell...
Yeah, Doom Eternal?
No, I'm done talking about Doom Eternal. Apparently, I'm full of hot hair when I have an opinion about Doom Eternal. Go figure.
Yeah, thanks for letting him know that.
Yes, thanks. It's not like I think of you as a friend and that really feels condescending to me. I'm saying that because I know he's listening to this. I know he listens to this periodically, so yes, I'm calling you out for being terrible at criticizing my criticizing of a game you like. Yes, that made sense. That made perfect sense. What just came out of my mouth.
Yes, that was a thing you just said. I'm sure.
Indeed.
I'm sure it made sense to somebody.
Yes. Well, listen. I've been struggling all my life with my Asperger brain. Sometimes, more often than I would really like, there is a certain difference between what my mind thinks and what comes out of my mouth. And I've been working on this flow of mine basically all my life, or at least ever since I started, putting my voice out there to the public.
Yeah,
I like to think that my ability to perform in this setting has improved dramatically over the years, and I say that while remembering how I used to be circa 2014. I cannot go back and watch those videos. I hate the sound of my voice in those. I still don't like my voice right now, but it's an improvement of some description, and that's all I can hope for at this point.
Let's see.
Anyway, back to shenanigans.
Yeah, back to shenanigans. I'm just remembering right now the old times where I used to perform on stage, and my family would want me to watch my performance on stage, just despite the fact I was there, I seen it, I've done it, so, and why should I watch it again?
Well, for two reasons. First is to have your spine wince right out of your body by looking at your old work. Oh gosh, do I really sound like that? No, that's not my voice. That's not my performance. Who is this stranger? What have you done with me? And second is for the very obvious reason that you need to learn from your past mistakes. You cannot hope to improve if you don't study your own material to see where you went wrong and what can you do better.
Well, I know, I understand that aspect about it, but it's like, but they basically wanted me to just enjoy it with them, despite, like I said before, I was there for that performance, I was doing it, so, and I'm not one to, to rewatch old videos of my past, so to speak, just because.
Well, here's the difference between you and I, then. I like to rewatch or to re-listen my old work constantly, mostly to get a sense of how much I have improved, or can I improve more in what I do. This podcast that we are doing is very much more relaxed and off the cuff, and I make a lot of mistakes. I eat a lot of words, as you might have noticed. By the way, eating words, it's an expression in my country.
Yeah.
For when you get your tongue twisted, essentially.
And eating your own words is also a meaning in English.
Yes, I know. Well. I know what it means. Something completely different, typically. Yeah. But when I say I eat my words, I mean in the sense that I flub my lines and they come out garbled, and I might have a slight speech impediment too in real life.
Yeah. Mind you though, I do watch my old videos that I do for YouTube. I just don't watch certain ones where I'm physically there doing things. So it's not like, so I did watch those old videos that I did on YouTube, like the old Antagonist archives, because I needed to see how could I improve the show if I was to ever bring it back to be more concise and more less wordy, waffly and such.
Well, in fairness, your videos were relatively short. Besides, the Antagonist archives pretty much peaked with the Lafanese joke.
I remember that. I remember that joke. I remember actually making that joke. Oh right, yeah, Kilrain.
Yes.
Because he only
peaked.
answered in laughs.
That was your best joke that you've ever written. And I say that without all the sarcasm in the world. And by that I mean the opposite. It's a charming little corny joke, and I love it for what it is.
I honestly think that's a really stupid joke.
It is, but that's why I think it's so charming. Oh, Devar was making his first jokes. Isn't that cute? I want to support him as a friend. So yes, Devar, I will learn speaking the Lafanese language. You have an entire ad for learning Lafanese too in that video.
I did? Oh
yes!
Gosh, I forgot about that part.
Why do I remember it so vividly?
I honestly don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Well, yeah, I basically was trying to figure out how to, and I think maybe I'm not very good at jokes. Maybe I should just ditch trying to make people laugh and just play it straight. So
I think you're very good in reacting to people's jokes, to validate their jokes, and that makes you a formidable straight man, which has been mostly our you know what I mean, our dynamic.
And here I thought our dynamic was,
our dynamo.
That we were both chimeras. Oh, this thing opened up.
Yes, we were both the product of a terrible Full Metal Alchemist fanfiction.
Oh my gosh, I knew it was a trap!
When it isn't a trap. No, seriously, when was there a time in which something like that would not be a trap?
When traps were goodies instead of enemies.
Even if you get some goodie, you still get enemies to fight for those goodies.
Oh look, I picked up the Necronomicon volume 259.
Yes, how many copies of the Necronomicon are there in hell? It's really popular literature.
I have 4 of them right now in my person, but I'm pretty sure I had loads of them earlier.
What can you do with the Necronomicon, by the way? What does it do?
I would have to test that out.
Okay, let's test it out then. Let's Jonni test that mofo.
Okay,
let's test it out, mofo. Jonni mofo test.
Right, let's do this.
Okay, 2 things. First of all, you misspelled Johnny.
I don't care.
Second of all, I hate it.
Thanks, I hate it.
Oh, I hate it so. Do you know that it's getting a reboot, Jonni Test?
Yeah, no, can we not? And
can we not? Apparently we can. Everything can be rebooted.
I have no idea what that did. I think that gave me armor? I can only assume that's what it did, because I have 200 armor all of a sudden.
Oh, that's good then. Keep it up.
Yep, I'll just keep that and just select this, just so I have the health potions at the ready, and go through this portal, which is not a trap, and we do the rapids.
Yes.
Look at that! I got 3 of the 5 secrets somehow.
Again, speaking of hell, and going back to about 20 minutes ago, I think.
To the quay.
There is the first episode of Satina finally out. Oh, wait, I'll put that on hold because I had to headbang to this soundtrack. Yeah! Woo! Woo! Rock and roll, baby!
Ah, I forgot. I think I realized something. I forgot to number it.
They have very blatantly recycled a certain theme from Doom.
Yeah.
With this one.
They probably did.
You know the one.
Yeah. Oh wait, let me number it first so I don't lose it.
Headbanging Nina. You almost broke your PC with it. Oh.
I actually was just getting rid of a message that was on my screen.
Oh, Devar, you will be the death of me sometimes. Someday.
I don't know
Right.
why I'd be the death of you.
You have the ability to surprise me and just cause me to burst into laughter every so often. I especially like your Freudian slips.
No idea what
Anyway,
kind of
oh
slips.
look, it's a halo up there.
Yep, we said that last time about the last level. That was Halo.
It's called continuity, Devar.
Could you?
Oh wow, this music really is refreshing change of pace for this game.
I didn't realize you were there. What are you doing behind me? Does that mean? Oh, you son of a!
Okay, so the first episode of Satina has been released finally.
Well, I'm glad that's a thing.
Okay, have you ever heard of Satina?
I have a feeling I have.
Yes, I put a link for the video in the group chat on Discord.
Mean that Bring Your Demon to Work Day?
Yes, that episode. It's the first official episode of Satina. There was a pilot about a year ago, which was also very good. And
Right.
I've been following this project for a while, about as long, if not less, probably less, than Has Been Hotel. It's another ambitious, serious project by an indie animator or a group of indie animators. The project lead of the series is Hannah Deigel,
Ah.
which, interestingly enough, was the one who wrote and illustrated that one furry comic that we riffed apart that one time. Remember?
Yeah, I think I do remember.
It was at the tail end of Dramatis Lectio of Amy, Merciless, and Shadow, and I presented this comic to you, and we made fun of it for a solid 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think I remember.
Yeah. I tried to have some critical points to come across all of that, but it was mostly an excuse to make fun of something, and I feel bad for it because the creator of that comic then went on to make Satina, which is now one of my favorite cartoons.
It's all part of living.
It's the circle of ha in your face, I guess.
Ha! We made a cool thing that you like now!
Aha! This completely invalidates your previous opinions about my work.
About my past works!
Okay, maybe I was being a bit unfair in judging that comic so harshly, but it was a bit of a mess. Let's face it. Nevertheless, you can take all the things that she learned on that in terms of narrative or comedic timing, and especially her craft, her artistry, her ability to draw and animate, and she eventually put together a team and made an absolutely fantastic, real funny, very well animated, gorgeously stylized cartoon that comes across as a delightful yet grotesque, almost visceral parody of 90s Renaissance animation. There are beautiful backgrounds, effective use of coloring and shading, memorably designed characters. It's real funny and well made overall.
Well,
And I definitely recommend everyone to go watch it. I will not say what happens in it, what the premise is. You just need to watch it on your own. Just find out on your own. Although if I would have to give you a basic description of it, There is this guy named Dave that works at a dead-end job about solving PC problems.
Yeah,
and all that.
I'm thinking about that guy as well.
Yes. Okay, and he has a daughter, which happens to be Alpha Demon, because he apparently ended up somehow having sex with the devil.
Well,
and the devil is very, very angry, very gigantic, very voluptuous Lady Satan by the name of Lucia.
Look at that! No, this is the kind of weird thing. You see all these enemies here that, bat an eyelid at anything. They haven't been reacted to us yet.
I guess they were not expecting you to come from behind. All right, guys, when he comes back... Oh, gosh, no!
Oh, no, the Heretic!
Ambush! Ambush! Oh, we're going to die! Right, so Satina by Hannah Daigle is very funny and also wholesome. By the way, get it? Lucia, Satina.
Yes.
These are very clever puns, you guys.
Totally.
So Satina is a adorable child. This show does not follow the stereotype of, Damien, the Antichrist, evil kid. No, she's pure, delightful, energetic innocence who just happened to be Alpha Demon and have demonic powers that are very dangerous. And she's absolutely adorable. The way she's designed, the way she is performed vocally. I like her dynamic with her dad, as well as her dynamic with her mom, as showcased in the pilot. And I just love how Lucia is just out of patience with everything in the world. She clearly hates the fact that, well, she has a history with this Dave guy. This slob of a human that has a dead-end job as a computer assist technical problem person and whatnot. Oh, and the comedy sproings from there. Yes, I said sproing.
Yep, sproings as in springs, or...
Yes. No, it needed to have an extra letter in it, obviously, to properly emphasize how much I enjoy it. Clearly.
I'm sure everybody realizes this.
So yes, go watch Satina. There isn't much to say about it beside the basic premise. Just know that it is funny and it's well made. It's also very simple, considering everything. Oh no, Dave is a normal guy who has a normal job, but he has a demon daughter. Ooh. Shenanigans, hijinks. And there will be hijinks.
Hijinks will be had.
Yes. So go watch the original pilot and the official first episode, which are the only two proper animations that have been put out so far. Animation take a long time, especially if you do it independently.
Yeah.
So I am grateful that these exist at all.
Animation, especially in the indie side of things, certainly has come a long way from the Newgrounds days of the 2000s.
Oh, you can say that again. That was a humble beginning about putting yourself out there as an amateur animator on the internet. Yeah. Before that, you would either just showcase a finished, well-made product in a film festival or nothing at all. So it's nice that the internet in the long run provided some sort of middle ground between being an artist in their early days of work to being able to properly accomplish a long-term project, and seeing everything between the first part and the second half as it goes on, as careers are made. One of these days, I would like for us to go back to Dramatis Sermo, our professional review and analysis podcast.
Yeah.
I let me put on my monocle, by the way, because I would like us to cover a few independent animated features that I have found and are actually available to see, for you to see on the internet easily. Specifically, I want us to cover Jonni Phillips and her Wasteland anthology.
Right.
And her work in general, because I find it infinitely fascinating. She has a very off-model, off-kilter, zany, cartoony style in terms of aesthetics, but in open contrast to that particular style, her character come off as the most uniquely real and well fleshed out I've seen in a long time. In fact, I've never seen characters portrayed in this unique way, perhaps ever since any of the animations by Don Hertzfeldt, and for completely different reasons too. They have a flawed humanity. There is a authenticity to them, which is actually enforced by the contrasting zany aesthetic. You would have to see it to understand what I'm talking about, but even in her earlier work, in her
the early days,
more amateurish work, when she was yet to figure out how to properly pace her work, one of the episodes in her Wasteland anthology features what I would consider to be the best and most profoundly moving breakup scene I've ever seen anywhere, live action, animation, or not. It's really that effective because of how subtle yet dramatic it is. It is subtle in its drama, and that makes it all the more effective emotionally. So yes, I have it on my bucket list for a long time now, us covering Wasteland by Jonni Phillips. That's definitely something that I want us to do at some point.
I'll definitely, we'll have to think about doing that at some point then, if we were to do that.
It's really, really great, unique, fascinating work in that sense. And she produces cartoons at a very surprisingly fast manner. She cuts off on the actual quality of animation to do that, but they still come off as really well made because her style is so unique and recognizable. Right about now, she's in the middle of working on her episodic series, Lies and Secrets from a Town of Sinners. I believe that's the title.
I think I've heard about that one.
I could be wrong. I recommend it. And also she's working on another animated feature, which is based off one of the characters in her series, named Barber Westchester.
Forgot about that Minotaur ramming me.
This music is rocking my Casbah, let me tell you.
I'm glad it's doing something for you.
Yes, this completely changes the tone and the pacing of the game.
I ran into a wall like
Is that the first time you find the Minotaur?
Nah, this is we fought him as a boss in one level.
All right, this is the part of the game in which bosses from previous episodes just reappear as regular enemies because this game hates you and it wants you to see suffer.
I guess it is supposed to be like the cyber demon, I guess? I forget.
It's very much thy soul consumed situation, as we established last time, and it killed you.
Dang it.
It very much is supposed to be the cyber demon.
Oh, goody. I end up, Okay, let's do this.
You have to do how much?
Just... A tiny bit. Oh wait, so first things first I need to... faster?
Aha! Aha! Yep. I will take you by surprise! Right.
Hey, chain bolts.
By the way,
chain bolts.
I wanted to bring up a piece of literature for everyone's enjoyment. We'll call this the Madhog's Literary Corner, or Madhog Reads a Thing, whichever rolls off the tongue better. I have a small piece of literature, a small essay of sorts, by one of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
The master, the wordsmith, Dr. Jonathan Swift. I believe it is a bit of text that we all need to listen to in these trying times, because it may offer a solution to all of our problems all at once. Even though it refers to a problem specifically of the era back then. So, without any further ado, I present to you a modest proposal written in 1729 by Dr. Jonathan Swift. And by the way, the complete title is A Modest Proposal for Preventing the Children of Poor People in Ireland from being a burden on their parents or country, and for making them beneficial to the public. And public is spelled with a K at the end.
That's definitely a thing that you just said.
Yes, have you ever heard about this essay by Dr. Swift?
Not really, no, I haven't.
Oh, you know nothing about it?
Not that I can think of from the top of my head, but watch it.
Okay, well, this is going to be interesting then. Allow me to read it.
Well, I'll be interested to see if it actually, if I actually have heard of it or not, because I might have heard it in passing.
It's a bit long, so this might legitimately take the rest of this recording. I should start right now. It is a melancholy object to those who walk through this great town or travel in the country when they see the streets, the roads, and cabin doors crowded with beggars of the female sex, followed by 3, 4, or 6 children, all in rags, and importuning every passenger for an alms. These mothers, instead of being able to work for their honest livelihood, are forced to employ all their time in strolling to beg sustenance for their helpless infants, who, as they grow up, either turn thieves for want of work, or leave their dear native country to fight for the Pretender in Spain, or sell themselves to the Barbados. By the way, the Pretender in Spain is referring to the so-called true heir of the throne of England, which was this guy, James Stewart, that had the Catholic Church behind him. It's a whole story.
Yeah.
I think it is agreed by all parties that this prodigious number of children in the arms, or on the backs, or at the heels of their mothers and frequently of their fathers, is in the present deplorable state of the kingdom a very great additional grievance. And therefore, whoever could find out a fair, cheap, and easy method of making these children sound and useful members of the Commonwealth would deserve so well of the public as to have his statue set up for a preserver of the nation. Let me guess, he has a solution. But my intention is very far from being confined to provide only for the children of professed beggars. It is of a much greater extent, and shall take in the whole number of infants at a certain age, who are born of parents in effect as little able to support them as those who demand our charity in the streets. I don't want to give them my money. As to my own part, having turned my thoughts for many years upon this important subject, and maturely weighed the several schemes of our projectors, I have always found them grossly mistaken in their computation. It is true, a child just dropped from its dam may be supported by her milk for a solar year, with little other nourishment, at most not above the value of 2 shillings, which the mother may certainly get, or the value in scraps by her lawful occupation of begging, and it is exactly at 1 year old that I propose to provide for them in such a manner as, instead of being a charge upon their parents, or the parish, or wanting food and raiment for the rest of their lives, they shall, on the contrary, contribute to the feeding, and partly to the clothing of many thousands. There is likewise another great advantage in my scheme, that it will prevent those voluntary abortions, and that horrid practice of women murdering their bastard children, alas! Too frequent among us, sacrificing the poor innocent babes, I doubt, more to avoid the expense than the shame, which would move tears and pity in the most savage and inhuman breast, the number of souls in this kingdom being usually reckoned 1.5 million. Remember when a country only had 1.5 million people in it?
Very tired, yeah.
Of this, I calculate there may be about 200,000 couple whose wives are breeders, from which number I subtract the 30,000 couple who are able to maintain their own children, although I apprehend there cannot be so many under the present distresses of the kingdom. But these being granted, there will remain 170,000 breeders. I again subtract 50,000 for those women who miscarry, or whose children die by accident or disease within the year. There only remain 120,000 children of poor parents annually born. The question, therefore, is how this number shall be reared and provided for, which, as I have already said, under the present situation of affairs, is utterly impossible by all the methods hitherto proposed. For we can neither employ them in handicraft or agriculture, they neither build houses, in the country, nor cultivate land. They can very seldom pick up a livelihood by stealing till they arrive at 6 years old, except where they are of cowardly parts, although I confess they learn the rudiments much earlier, during which time they can, however, be properly looked upon only as probationers. As I have been informed by a principal gentleman in the country of Cavan, who protested to me that he never knew above 1 or 2 instances under the age of 6, even in a part of the kingdom so renowned for the quickest proficiency in that art. I am assured by our merchants that a boy or a girl before 12 years old is no saleable commodity, and even when they come up to this age, they will not yield above £3, or £3 and half a crown at most on the exchange, which cannot turn to account either to the parents or kingdom, the charge of nutriments and rugs having been at least 4 times that value. I shall now therefore humbly propose my own thoughts, which I hope will not be liable to the least objection. I have been assured by a very knowing American of my acquaintance in London that a young healthy child well nursed is, at a year old, a most delicious, nourishing, and wholesome food, whether stewed, roasted, baked, or boiled. And I make no doubt that it will equally serve in a fricassee or a ragoust. Are you with me still?
Sadly, yes.
I do therefore humbly offer it to public consideration that of the 120,000 children already computed, 20,000 may be reserved for breed, whereof only 1/4 part to be males, which is more than we allow to sheep, black cattle, or swine, and my reason is that these children are seldom the fruits of marriage, a circumstance not much regarded by our savages. Therefore, 1 male will be sufficient to serve 4 females. That the remaining 100,000 may, at a year old, be offered in sale to the persons of quality and fortune through the kingdom, always advising the mother to let them suck plentifully in the last month, so as to render them plump and fat for a good table. A child will make 2 dishes at an entertainment for friends, and when the family dines alone, the fore or hind quarter will make a reasonable dish, and seasoned with a little pepper or salt, will be very good boiled on the 4th day, especially in winter. I have reckoned upon a medium that a child just born will weigh 12 pounds, and in a solar year, if tolerably nursed, increaseth to 28 pounds. I grant this food will be somewhat dear, and therefore very proper for landlords, who, as they have already devoured most of the parents, seem to have the best title to the children. Truer words were never spoken. Infant's flesh will be in season throughout the year, but more plentiful in March, and a little before and after. For we are told by a grave author, an eminent French physician, that fish being a prolific diet, there are more children born in Roman Catholic countries about 9 months after Lent than at any other season. Therefore, reckoning a year after Lent, the markets will be more glutted than usual, because the number of popish infants is at least 3 to 1 in this kingdom, and therefore it will have one other collateral advantage, by lessening the number of papists among us.
So, is that all he says?
I have already computed the charge of nursing a beggar's child, in which list I reckon all cottagers, labourers, and 4/5 of the farmers, to be about 2 shillings per annum, rags included, and I believe no gentleman would repine to give 10 shillings for the carcass of a good fat child, which, as I have said, will make 4 dishes of excellent nutritive meat when he hath only some particular friend or his own family to dine with him. Thus the squire will learn to be good landlord and grow popular among his tenants. The mother will have 8 shillings net profit and be fit for work till she produces another child. Those who are mostly more thrifty as I must confess the times require, may flay the carcass, the skin of which, artificially dressed, will make admirable gloves for ladies and summer boots for fine gentlemen. As to our city of Dublin, shambles may be appointed for this purpose in the most convenient parts of it, and butchers we may be assured will not be wanting, although I rather recommend buying the children alive and dressing them hot from the knife, as we do roasting pigs. A very worthy person, a true lover of this country, and whose virtues I highly esteem, was lately pleased in discoursing on this matter, to offer a refinement upon my scheme. He said that many gentlemen of this kingdom, having of late destroyed their deer, he conceived that the want of venison might be well supplied by the bodies of young lads and maidens, not exceeding 14 years of age, nor under 12. So great a number of both sexes in every country being now ready to starve for want of work and service, and these to be disposed of by the parents if alive, or otherwise by the nearest relations. But with due deference to so excellent a friend and so deserving a patriot, I cannot be altogether in his sentiments. For as to the males, my American acquaintance assured me from frequent experience that their flesh was generally tough and lean, like that of our schoolboys. I hear that you have proceeded to the next level.
Yes, to the courtyard.
By continual exercise and their taste disagreeable, and to fatten them would not answer the charge. Then as to the females, it would, I think, with humble submission, be a loss to the public, because they soon would become breeders themselves. And besides, it is not improbable that some scrupulous people might be apt to censor such a practice, although indeed very unjustly, as a little bordering upon cruelty, which, I confess, hath always been with me the strongest objection against any project, how well soever intended. But in order to justify my friend, they confessed that this expedient was put into his head by the famous Salmanazor, a native of the island Formosa, who came from thence to London above 20 years ago, and in conversation told my friend that in his country, when any young person happened to be put to death, the executioner sold the carcass to persons of quality as a prime dainty, and that, in his time, the body of a plump girl of 15 who was crucified for an attempt to poison the emperor was sold to His Imperial Majesty's Prime Minister of State and other great mandarins of the court in joints from the gibbet at 400 crowns. Neither indeed can I deny that if the same use were made of several plump young girls in this town, who without one single growth to their fortunes cannot stir abroad without a chair, and appear at a playhouse and assemblies in foreign fineries, which they never will pay for, the kingdom would not be the worse. How long is this again? Okay. Oof. I'm committed.
I mean, how long is it? I mean, it seems like you would have been better off just summarizing.
No. I'm committed. I'm going to finish this right now. Some persons of a desponding spirit are in great concern about that vast number of poor people who are aged, diseased, or maimed, and I have been desired to employ my thoughts what course may be taken to ease the nation of so grievous an encumbrance, but I am not in the least pain upon the matter, because it is very well known that they are every day dying and rotting by cold and famine and filth and vermin, as fast as can be reasonably expected. And as to the young laborers, they are now in almost as hopeful a condition. They cannot get work, and consequently pine away from want of nourishment, to a degree that if any time they are accidentally hired to common labor, they have not strength to perform it, and thus the country and themselves are happily delivered from the evils to come. I have too long digressed, and therefore shall return to my subject. I think the advantages by the proposal which I have made are obvious and many, as well as of the highest importance. For first, as I have already observed, it would greatly lessen the number of papists with whom we are yearly overrun, being the principal breeders of the nation, as well as our most dangerous enemies, and who stay at home on purpose with a design to deliver the kingdom to the pretender, again James Stewart, hoping to take their advantage by the absence of so many good Protestants who have chosen rather to leave their country than stay at home and pay tithes against their conscience to an episcopal curate. Secondly, the poorer tenants will have something valuable on their own, which by law may be made liable to a distress and help to pay their landlord's rent, their corn and cattle being already seized and many a thing unknown. Yes, pay your rent by selling your children to your landlord so that they can keep them. Yeah. Boy, is this relevant! Thirdly, whereas the maintenance of 100,000 children from 2 years old and upwards cannot be computed at less than 10 shillings apiece per annum, the nation's stock will be thereby increased £50,000 per annum, besides the profit of a new dish introduced to the tables of all gentlemen of fortune in the kingdom who have any refinement and taste. And the money will circulate among ourselves, the goods being entirely of our own growth and manufacture. Fourthly, the constant breeders, besides the gain of 8 shillings sterling per annum by the sale of their children, will be rid of the charge of maintaining them after the first year. Fifthly, this food would likewise bring great custom to taverns, where the vintners will certainly be so prudent as to procure the best receipts for dressing it to perfection, and consequently have their houses frequented by all the fine gentlemen who justly value themselves upon their knowledge in good eating, and a skillful cook who understands how to oblige his guests will contrive to make it as expensive as they please. Sixthly, this would be a great inducement to marriage, which all wise nations have either encouraged by rewards or enforced by laws and penalties. It would increase the care and tenderness of mothers towards their children when they were sure of a settlement for life to the poor babes, provided in some sort of by the public, to their annual profit instead of expense. We should soon see an honest emulation among the married women, which of them could bring the fattest child to the market. Men would become as fond of their wives during the time of their pregnancy, and they are now of their mares in foal, their cows in calf, or sows when they are ready to farrow, nor offer to beat or kick them, as is too frequent a practice, for fear of a miscarriage. So this practice will reduce violence to women, is what he's saying.
Okay.
Many other advantages might be enumerated. For instance, the addition of some 1,000 carcasses in our exportation of barreled beef. Barreled beef, that sounds like a brand. The propagation of swine's flesh, an improvement in the art of making good bacon. So much wanted among us by the great destruction of pigs too frequent at our tables, which are no way comparable in taste or magnificence to a well-grown, fat yearling child, which roasted whole will make a considerable figure at a Lord Mayor's feast or any other public entertainment, but this and many others I omit, being studious of brevity. Supposing that 1,000 families in this city would be constant customers for infant's flesh, besides others who might have it at merry meetings, particularly at weddings and christenings, I compute that Dublin would take off annually about 20,000 carcasses, and the rest of the kingdom, where probably they will be sold somewhat cheaper, the remaining 80,000. I can think of no one objection that will possibly be raised against this proposal, unless it should be urged that the number of people will be thereby much lessened in the kingdom. This I freely own, and was indeed one principal design in offering it to the world. I desire the reader will observe. Then I calculate my remedy for this one individual kingdom of Ireland, and for no other than ever was, is, or I think ever can be upon earth. Therefore, let no man talk to me of other expedients, of taxing our absentees at 5 shillings a pound, of using neither clothes nor household furniture, except that what is of our own growth and manufacture, of utterly rejecting the materials and instruments that promote foreign luxury, of curing the expensiveness of pride, vanity, idleness, and gaming in our women. Interesting. Of introducing a vein of parsimony, prudence, and temperance. I hear you died.
Yes, I did.
Too immersed in the literature, I see.
Not really. I'm just basically was trying to figure out how to get through this room.
Of learning to love our country, wherein we differ even from the Laplanders and the inhabitants of Topinambu. I don't know if these are real places, but I doubt it. Of quitting our animosities and factions, nor acting any longer like the Jews who were murdering one another at the very moment their city was taken. Of being a little cautious not to sell our country and consciences for nothing, of teaching landlords to have at least 1 degree of mercy towards their tenants. Lastly, of putting a spirit of honesty, industry, and skill into our shopkeepers, who, if a resolution could now be taken to buy only our native goods, would immediately unite to cheat and exact upon us in the price, the measure, and the goodness, nor could ever yet be brought to make one fair proposal of just dealing, though often and earnestly invited to it. Therefore, I repeat, let no man talk to me of this and the like expedients, till he hath at least some glimpse of hope that there will ever be some earthy and sincere attempt to put them into practice. But, as to myself, having been wearied out for many years with offering vain, idle, visionary thoughts, and at length utterly despairing of success, I fortunately fell upon this proposal, which, as it is wholly new, so it hath something solid and real, of no expense and little trouble, full in our own power, and whereby we can incur no danger in disobliging England. For this kind of commodity will not bear exportation, and flesh being of too tender a consistence to admit a long continuance in salt, although perhaps I could name a country which would be glad to eat up our whole nation without it. After all, I am not so violently bent upon my own opinion as to reject any offer proposed by wise men, which shall be found equally innocent, cheap, easy, and effectual. But before something of that kind shall be advanced, in contradiction to my scheme, and offering a better, I desire the author or authors will be pleased maturely to consider 2 points. First, as things now stand, how they will be able to find food and raiment for 100,000 useless mouths and backs, and secondly, There being around million of creatures in humane figure throughout this kingdom, whose whole subsistence, put into a common stock, would leave them in debt 2 million of pounds sterling, adding those who are beggars by profession to the bulk of farmers, cottagers, and labourers, with their wives and children, who are beggars in effect. I desire those politicians who dislike my overture, and may perhaps be so bold to attempt an answer, that they will first ask the parents of these mortals whether they would not at this day think it a great happiness to have been sold for food at a year old in the manner I prescribe, and thereby have avoided such a perpetual scene of misfortunes as they have since gone through, by the oppression of landlords, the impossibility of paying rent without money or trade, the want of common sustenance, with neither a house nor clothes to cover them from the inclemencies of the weather, and the most inevitable prospect of entailing the like or greater miseries upon their breed forever. I profess in the sincerity of my heart that I have not the least personal interest in endeavoring to promote this necessary work, having no other motive than the public good of my country, by advancing our trade, providing for infants, relieving the poor, and giving some pleasure to the rich. I have no children by which I can propose to get a single penny, the youngest being 9 years old, and my wife past childbearing. That's it.
Oh, thank God. Well, I'm just gonna say that, you know, he put a lot of effort into, you know, say, hey, you know that child, I really like how thick she is.
So this is satire, obviously.
Yes, it's absolute satire.
It's from the great Jonathan Swift, which you might better know as the author of Gulliver's Travels.
Right.
So when it comes to satire, he is of the finest wine, and what he says, what he points out with his satirical commentary in this essay is actually not surprisingly at all, relevant to the very times we live in, where people are being laid off their jobs due to the plague, and they are losing their homes because the landlords want them to pay rent. And there is a lot that he says about landlords in this essay.
Yeah.
This is a commentary about classism and social inequality through the guise of a quote-unquote modest proposal to solve all economical problems at the expense of the poor, of course.
Of course.
Of the poor's children, to be specific, at the expense of the future of the nation itself, because all the babies are getting eaten. So there is a lot to be said about that, but it is very effective satire. To this very day, I think it's one of the finest examples of literary satire to be found. You think people are bad in understanding satire today? Think of it in 1729. Right, so I hope you enjoyed it. It was a bit longer than I expected it to be, than I remembered it to be. He waffles quite a lot, but the point gets across.
I mean, could be me waffling sort of style.
So yes, I hope you appreciated the Madhog's Literary Corner. I might come back in future installations of this podcast with different and mayhaps shorter pieces to read for your listening pleasure.
Need to keep an eye on this Minotaur guy, just so that I don't die against him.
Okay, if you excuse
fudge.
me... Well, you had just finished saying that.
Ah, right.
Okay.
This is where I was.
I need to drink water now.
Yes, you sound like you do, after all that.
Oh, I read it all in one go.
Yep. Just
Go me.
Just like our fan fictions.
Yes, this will not make it to Dramatis Lectio, obviously. There is very little to make fun of in this one, because it's satire, and really, we are not funnier than Jonathan Swift.
I mean, I wouldn't even try.
He's on a whole other level.
Well, he's what we call a mad lad in this day and age.
A mad lad! Mad lad Jonathan Swift, the original mad lad.
I mean, he seems like a mad lad with how he just basically sells it.
Yes, he went into painful details to sell his idea, which only makes the quote-unquote essay all the more effective in terms of the commentary he wanted to provide, because he's clearly putting himself into the problem. He is part of the problem because he's one of the privileged, as it is made clear, abundantly clear, by all the friends and acquaintances he brings up that validated his very intellectual theory. Going so far as to make up countries and people as he went. I especially like the idea that it was his American acquaintance that gave him the idea that they should be eating babies.
I mean,
or at least
I mean, other people have recommended the idea, like Austin Powers. They recommended it at one point with baby back ribs.
They were all referencing and homaging a modest proposal, clearly.
Right, now I'm done that, so...
let's change topics,
let's
right?
Let's get back to the task at hand. Let's me think of anything interesting to talk about. That is right.
Hey, let's go back to the Madhog and Devar's cooking corner.
I made banana loaf today.
That sounds lovely.
It is. It's basically a small cake, but but you mash up bananas into the batter, and you have like a loaf of bread, which is a banana, essentially.
You have a loaf of bread, which is a banana.
Yes, which has banana involved.
Okay, so give us the scoop, Doc. Give us the ingredients.
Okay. Let me actually pause it for this one. Okay, so first you would need 140 grams of softened butter.
Butter.
140 grams of caster sugar.
Sugar.
Then you basically mash it up and stir it until it becomes light and fluffy, the mixture, so it all is combined. Then we get one of 2 large eggs, crack that in with a bit of flour that has been, well, self-raising flour, which has some baking powder put into it as well. A teaspoon of baking powder, I should say. And you put small bits of that flour in with the egg, stir it in, and then you get your second egg and a bit more flour and stir that in. And then we get the rest of our flour bit by bit. Oh, by the way, I should mention that the flour is 140 grams as well.
Yes, you probably should mention that at some point.
Yes. And we start...
They put flour in it! An entire track worth of flour.
Yeah, just basically puts all the flour in the world in there. Let's see. And then you fold it in, the the flour bit by bit until it all goes in, till you're finished with it, of course. And then you get your mashed banana. You can do this in two ways. You can either have a blender. If you don't have a blender on hand, get a fork and mash it up. Obviously with the skin off, because you don't want your skin in there.
Or do you?
No, I don't think you do. And then you fold the mashed banana bit by bit into the mixture. And then you put it into a loaf tin, which has grease-proof paper in there, obviously, as you would when you're baking. And then you put that in the oven for about 30 to 35 minutes at, I don't know how your ovens work in Italy, but
it works like an oven.
Okay, so if you have an electric, if you have an electric fan oven...
Oh, you see, our ovens in Italy, they are made from fire and brimstone, clearly. We have not moved past the 16th century.
I was gonna say that if you have an electric oven, then it's 180. Then it's 180 fan.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of what it would be, what gas mark it would be if you were using gas. I would have to read that, but
okay.
somewhere.
But so basically, these are the ingredients to make what was it again? The banana split.
It's you either call it banana bread or banana loaf.
The banana loaf. I had a meatloaf in England when I came to visit.
Oh, how did that taste for you?
It wasn't that bad. It was different, that's for certain. Different from the kinds of meat I am used to eat. But it was pleasant. I wanted to try it because I was otherwise very unimpressed by your local cuisine, as I made it abundantly clear.
as also my fiance has made it abundantly clear. She's not.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry about this, but everybody makes it abundantly clear when they come to visit England.
Yeah, but I don't. The thing is, I don't get it though, because
of fish and chips. It's because your reputation has been single-handedly ruined by the existence of fish and chips, which appeals to nobody. Nobody!
I mean, it appeals to me.
It sounds terrible, and I don't want anything to do with it. I mean, there is a certain difference when you pronounce it out loud between, oh, look, it is le banana loaf. Le banana bread and fish and chips. Here you go. Eat it up while it's hot.
But yeah, but like I said, it's a weird thing to me because essentially, I ate the food in Poland that my fiance says it's much better than England's food, and
of course she says that. She's Polish,
and honestly, I can't tell the difference. Seems like it's the same as you get in England, just prepared differently.
Well, some of us might have a more discerning taste, and by that I mean more pedantic and picky taste than others.
I mean,
But anyway, thank you for joining me in today's Madhog and Devar's Cooking Corner! Yay!
Hey, that's a thing we have now, apparently.
I want this to become a regular subset of this podcast, along with Madhog Reads a Thing.
Oh gosh, I don't bake that often, honestly. I just basically...
No, but you seem to have some good ideas, or at least have some good recipes in your head.
Well, I only memorized that one specifically, just because, it's a favorite from my fiance.
Okay, I get all of my recipes from my grandmother, so maybe the next time we do this, I will ask her to give me one of her recipes and I can bring it up to you. Maybe we can talk about how she makes her famous potato mash gâteau.
By the way, you know what one of my favorite dishes in Poland is?
No, obviously I don't.
Well, yeah, I'm basically saying, it's called gołąbek.
That's a very lovely sounding name.
Basically, what it is basically meat that has been rolled in with rice and cooked, as you know, and wrapped in steamed cabbage, essentially with sauce.
That, aside from the cabbage, that sounds almost exactly like one of our meat, rice, and mozzarella fried bowls that we call supli.
I might like that, I bet.
Oh, you will love that. Although it's very difficult to make it just right, and I can say that because I've developed a discerning taste in the matter by having tasted the supli in as many restaurants and diners as I have. Even the ones who have good regular pizza, it's usually sold in pizzerias, by the way, might not be all that good in making the supli. The very good supli, the best supli I have ever eaten was from my mother's former husband's mother.
Oh great! I hate secrets that have teleporters.
I thought you were about to say something about my mother's former husband's mother.
I wasn't gonna say anything about people that I don't know, honestly.
Okay, so she made some really delicious supplis in that sense. Or at least she used to. I don't think she can do anything much anymore. Too many years of medication have left her a bit loopy.
Oh.
To be generous.
That's a shame.
Well, I wasn't all that close to her anyway. Like I said, she is the mother of my mother's former husband, of which she had a pretty terrible falling out a few years ago.
I'm gonna hate this teleporter nonsense.
Probably, yes. Telefracking. That's not what I said, but okay.
There. I can't spell. I can't put here, so it has to be telefracking out of here.
Telefreaking Schmears Evil Incorporated. Okay, let's talk about something else entirely. Let's talk about.
I was going to say about the gołąbek thing. You won't know what it's translated to English. It doesn't sound appetizing in English.
Most things, when translated to English, don't sound appetizing at all, in my experience.
Well, in translation, it's translated as pigeon.
Pigeon?
Yes. Pigeon.
Is it because of the shape of the roll that resembles a bird?
Even the Polish.
Or is it a gross coincidence?
I think it's a gross coincidence because essentially it's like, whoever named the dish, just.
Oh, it might be the case in which my name is Pigeon, so I'm going to name this dish that I invented Pigeon. Genius! Listen, that only works once every 10 tries. Like, the guy who invented sandwich fortuitously happened to be named Sandwich.
Okay, that wasn't too bad, that teleporting nonsense.
Okay. So have you been playing any games as of late?
Let me think now. What have I played recently other than this game and obviously the D&D stuff that I've been...
D&D doesn't count. Let's reserve the D&D talk for when we are actually done with this campaign, which we are not yet. There is the epilogue left, apparently.
The Secret Epilogue.
Yes, the Secret Epilogue. Listen, it doesn't take much to figure out what's going on. You asked us all what very specific personalized endings we were going to get if we were going to win that one match. And one of us won, and something very specific happened afterwards. So it doesn't take a genius to figure out what's going on here, if you paid any attention, which miraculously I did this one time.
Okay, did you pay attention the entire campaign to realize why it's happening?
I paid attention to a very specific element. That's the part in which I will try to feign surprise. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But anyway, need to... Don't know why... Can I not open it from this side? Because I see some goodies up there that the Minotaur left behind.
So there is a new game I've been playing in the last few days.
Yeah.
Please don't lose respect of me.
Why would I lose respect of you?
Because I'm playing a hero shooter.
Hero shooter?
Yes. You know, sort of like Overwatch.
Oh, which one is it? Valorant?
What?
Which one, what is it called?
Paladins.
Oh, Paladins. Never heard of that one.
So, are you going to ask me?
Why, Madhog, what is Paladins?
What's a Paladins? This amused me a little bit more than I anticipated. What's a Paladins? Right. So I'm good. I'm fine.
Are you sure?
What's a Paladins? Okay, I'm going to give you a selling pitch for it then.
Okay.
Hey, Devar, have you ever wanted to try a game like Overwatch, but A, you don't want to spend $40 or more on it, and you don't want to support the business activities of Activision Blizzard? Well then, try Paladins! You can play it for free, and it's not made by Blizzard! And these are the only two things it has going on for itself! Hooray!
Hooray!
Okay, I am being slightly facetious. I've never played Overwatch, and I don't intend to ever because Blizzard, right?
Yeah.
But this is a game that's very much like Overwatch, to a degree that's almost copyright infringing, might I add. But it's a lot of fun. Every hero you play is unique. It has its own unique abilities that give you a different gameplay experience every time. You might find your favorite, and there are 3 different modes in which you can play: the regular team deathmatch, the King of the Hill mode, and the what I would define as the successor of the Steal the Flag mode from Unreal Tournament, in which you just have to carry a payload to the opposite team's base and gain points. It's fun. It's fun, and I'm almost ashamed to admit, but I liked it enough that I wanted to spend actual money on it to unlock all of the champions, because it being free to play, the grind for unlocking every character would be pretty dire. Yes, I remember the grind in Heroes of the Storm when I used to play it. I don't anymore, obviously. I'm glad I did not spend any money on Heroes of the Storm.
I never spent any money on that game either, honestly.
Right, I don't want to... Actively. I know, I remember. I don't want to give any money to Blizzard. So it's nice to have a good, solid, viable alternative to Overwatch that exists in spite of Overwatch. Because poor old Battleborn sure ain't it, Chief.
Yeah, Battleborn didn't stand a chance back in the day.
The problem of Battleborn is that it came out at the wrongest possible time. The one advantage that Paladins has over Overwatch is that it's been in beta and available to play 1 whole year before the release of Overwatch. So by the time Overwatch gets there, Paladins already has amassed its own fanbase. It's been in beta for a while, so there are dedicated players already. Although, even though it came out first, I cannot help to ponder how much did it actually take from Overwatch? Because when I look at the designs of the characters, let's just say they seem oddly familiar. There is this one edgelord character that's very familiar to the edgelord that's in Overwatch. And that's only the peak of the iceberg. There is a character that's literally just an orc from Warcraft, but with a blue skin. Unless you get the optional skin, which gives him a green skin. So yes, it's been in beta, in open beta, before Overwatch, but the game itself has been completed over the course of many years, because, you know, that's the point of an open beta. It's not the full experience. And I don't know about the full history of Paladins and how much it borrows from you know who.
Yeah.
Or if it's the other way around. Because when I looked at it, had I not known that it was around before Overwatch, I would have been shocked, absolutely shocked, if Blizzard didn't sue them out of oblivion. And I'm pretty sure they could have done that. But it's a good thing that Paladins existed before Overwatch. And again, I don't know if this is a DreamWorks situation in which, you know, they might have known about what Blizzard was doing and they decided that we're going to make our own game before they do, by copying them before their actual game comes out, which would explain why the open beta, just 1 year prior the release of Overwatch. But I am not one for conspiracy theories, and honestly I don't even care about it to really look it up. I'm just playing a game that I enjoy, and that's that.
Okay, we're done with that place. Oh wow, I got max kills.
Good for you.
That's nice to know.
So yes, I've been shamelessly plugged in Paladins, and I have my favorite characters already, and like all multiplayer online shooters, it's the kind of game in which one day you feel like an invincible Goliath with a 29 straight killing streak, one game. And then the next day you get pwned and owned by kids who have been playing far longer than you.
Well,
it happens.
Yeah, it's life.
It's not really. The world of games is the only place where the youth can actually get back at the boomers, I guess, because the reality is very unkind if you're young. It's Hex life. That sounds like a terrible 90s sitcom.
Honestly, if I was to, would it be pretty cool to see, you know, Hexen make a return? Well, Heretic make a return.
Okay, well, funny you should mention that, because I have another game that I have been playing that I have not talked to anybody about it.
Yeah.
It's titled Ziggurat.
Ziggurat?
It's very much an homage to classic 90s arena shooters, and it's a fantasy, much like Heretic is, and You have wacky fantasy weapons, and you fight hordes and hordes of monsters, just like Heretic or Doom
Yeah.
or both. There are very much enemies that will remind you instantly of Doom, like the Lost Souls.
Yeah.
You have several playable characters for this game that you unlock by killing monsters or finding more items. It's fun, it's fast-paced. You also have experience points and RPG elements.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, I was just listening to you. Don't worry.
Okay. No, because I can no longer hear the audio from the game.
Oh, don't worry about that. I was just basically I'm just looking up something really quick.
Okay. Well, as I was saying, Ziggurat is a lot of fun. There is just one catch.
What's the catch?
It's a roguelike.
Ah.
So if you like that sort of game, I would definitely recommend this. But it's fun. It's fun. I would recommend it. I don't know how much is it on Steam, but you can also buy it on the PS4.
Right.
It's the closest you get to a revival of Heretic, in my opinion. I would also recommend Paladins. Like I said, it's free to play, and if you've ever wanted to try a proper online hero shooter that's not Overwatch, and it's not Team Fortress 2, because I realize that's been around for quite a long time.
Yep, it has done.
If you want to try something that's current, that many people are playing, then Paladins is the game I would recommend.
Yeah. It's funny you say roguelike because I just remembered something that because due to the situation we're in worldwide, me and my best friend Demonox have essentially not been visiting each other for the past month due to his dad being on the high risk list and my mum having heart issues. So so yeah, it's not a good idea for us to be meeting under such circumstances. But yeah, so we've been playing games online once a week now these last few
I'm
weeks.
aware. You did not invite me.
Yeah, because essentially me and Demonox, it's just between us two essentially in this regard. Anyway.
Okay, fair enough.
So yeah, we've been playing random games and that we have on our list essentially, and at one point Steam actually made certain games free for a specific time, and so we basically were playing a not very interesting outing for Lara Croft which is called the Tomb of Osiris or something like that.
Oh, I think I remember that.
Yeah,
Well, it was that one co-op Lara Croft game.
Yeah, it was a sequel to the Temple of Light, I believe it was called. So essentially you're playing as Lara Croft with some other character that no one will care about. Basically playing like an overhead shooting gallery essentially with enemies that come up towards you as you're solving puzzles as well. So it's not a very interesting game. I'm not going to stay long on that one. But as for roguelikes that you mentioned earlier,
Yes, I am aware that Demonox is very into roguelikes. He was the one who suggested to me, or rather, was the one who recommended to me after I asked him about Dead Cells. I've been playing a lot of roguelikes in the past year, almost to make up for the fact that I
avoid them like the plague.
For some people, it is very appealing, the idea of having to restart every time you die. But for most people, it is not. This is not... we're not living in the 80s anymore.
Yeah.
We'll go on.
Yeah. So, many years ago, when I had my old machine, you remember the old machine I had? The one that...
I was there when it was still alive. Yes.
And...
Do you think you can continue the game while you talk, or...
Nah, I'm thinking about calling it quits for the night because essentially it's getting close to 4 and I think it would be like...
Well, you know, it would be nice if you had your 20th save file tonight. Yes, I've been counting them.
Okay. That's that's fine because that's the 19th there, so... Well, so it's 1 off essentially from 20. And we're right here where we need to be for next time.
Okay.
So the thing that many years ago, Demonox got me a game called Abyss Odyssey. It was called. I wouldn't go out and get it personally, just because it has the all trappings of what a roguelike is. Basically,
it's every roguelike after the Binding of Isaac.
So the way this roguelike is made is that basically you are seeing it from a perspective like you would a side-scrolling thing, but you can go left or right, go across caverns.
So it's 2.5D?
Yeah, let's go with 2.5D. So it's a 2.5D game where you find weapons, like get stronger weapons and all that, get stronger abilities as you level, and
and then you die.
And you die. You keep
because these games are notoriously hard.
But you do keep your levels. That's one thing, and you do. And you keep your money, as far as I can see.
Oh, so it's not a roguelike; it's a roguelife.
But the roguelike aspect comes in the form of, if you had a really strong weapon on you, then you lose that permanently.
Honestly, that's better than most roguelikes.
Yeah. So the thing I really like about this particular roguelike is the art direction. It's I mean the monk is the monk that you unlock is the most coolest character you can find, because he is basically just a robed figure with skeletons in him. And he has this really cool voice. I will not attempt to mimic it right now but
I will destroy you, He-Man.
But the concept of him is really cool. The concept is that basically he is the dead that has amalgamated into this one being of the previous victims of the Warlock's nightmare that has killed many soldiers who are defending against the constant threat of the Warlock's dreams.
That's nice. That sounds nice.
It's a very interesting concept for a roguelike, where basically it's your job as the character of your choosing, which is first a woman by the name of Katrine, and then you have to unlock the other two, which is the monk and Ponyonya? I forgot her name, but I haven't unlocked her yet. But basically, it's your job to basically go down into the nightmarish hellhole that is created by the Warlock's dreams, and get to him, and defeat him, and kill his body. I say give it a look-see and see if the art direction's your thing. If it's not, then I wouldn't recommend it all that much, because it's a bit unforgiving sometimes. And cheap.
Listen, you want to talk about unforgiving? I've been playing Enter the Gungeon.
I've heard about Enter the Gungeon. Some people say it's quite good.
Of all the roguelikes I played, it is the most difficult. Simply because I cannot deal with bullet hell. I just can't.
Oh, that'd be up Ross's alley then, wouldn't it?
I've been playing a lot of The Binding of Isaac, that's for sure, which is pretty much the primordial roguelike when it comes to the modern definition of roguelikes, because originally there was a game titled Rogue, and then came the roguelikes amongst down the decade, but it wasn't until the Binding of Isaac that the genre really exploded in popularity in the independent gaming scene. And now you have a roguelike every week, essentially. I would love to spend an hour talking about roguelikes, but I believe this is the time in which we part ways because
it's getting quite late now. And
it's getting quite late and we have a full podcast recorded with plenty of topics, you talking about banana bread and me reading a thing.
Yeah, you reading a thing which basically took over like 45 minutes, I think. From the top of my head.
Well, I'll be sure to bring up something shorter next time, or if it's not shorter, at least I will read less of it.
Yeah, this has been a nice, casual, relaxing evening.
Yes, casual, relaxing, maxing, all of that.
So yeah,
I'm looking at the two fellers on the side of the screen eating the chain. They look very relaxed.
Yeah, I mean it's their thing after all, so we can't judge them.
Speak to yourself. No, actually, speak for yourself. Oh, that's all a bunch of nonsense. Good night, everybody.
Take care,
remember,
buddy.
Eat the rich.
Take care, everybody.